Hello and welcome. In this short e-learning course, we will explore the topic of community empowerment and co-creation, with a focus on you as a small-scale operator, often based in a small Nordic community. Perhaps you are a sheep farmer who wants to develop your farm into a visitor destination that can attract local, national, and international guests. What you do today and which concept you choose is not the crucial point. This course will show you what you can do and how you can build a competitive advantage within the topic above. We will also address the challenge of how to develop a product according to product development principles, enabling you to create a product/service that can, for example, attract tourism. To achieve this, it is important to have the right tools to succeed. Therefore, today we will look at the following learning objectives. Can identify methods for involving local residents in product development and decision-making. Can define community co-creation and explain its benefits for sustainable tourism. Has knowledge of motivation theories and conflict management. Let's start with examples of how other businesses operating sustainable tourism in small areas have succeeded. We will consider two different businesses, Company X and Company Y. Both are located on the Norwegian coast. We begin with Company X, which facilitates extensive collaboration with many actors. Company X operates as an umbrella organization in which all businesses are small and members of the organization. It consists of unique accommodation providers, eateries, experiences, and outlets offering locally produced crafts, food, and beverages. Even though there is a wide spread among the actors, both in what they offer and geographically, they work well across disciplines so that all actors have the opportunity to succeed. Company X does this by working toward becoming a shared tourism destination and facilitating partnerships between actors, for example by using each other's products. Working toward common certifications and awards that increase the competitive advantage of the area and region. Engaging individuals across the member businesses and assigning them roles to visit one another and provide feedback on potential positive changes. Developing shared statutes, values, and norms within the organization, while each actor also retains its own values, norms, and rules. Proactively increasing the organization's membership so that more actors come under the umbrella, in order to expand the overall offer as a cohesive tourism destination. Clarifying the travel patterns for the area and region. Encouraging members to use each other's products and services rather than looking externally. Holding regular gatherings with different actors to set frameworks for how the organization can improve, in line with strategies and goals that are set and have been set. Company Y is smaller and is based on a partnership between three actors who offer the same type of product. The purpose of the collaboration is to increase tourism to the destination and achieve better profitability if they, although they are three competing businesses, work together toward a jointly defined goal. They collaborate by sharing costs related to marketing for the attraction they are building. Selling the total experience, which in this example is an experience-based itinerary where the actors are located along the route, in the hope that tourists will visit several of the actors during their stay. Purchasing some products from each other and using these across the destination's attractions. Providing general advisory support across the actors. These are just some examples of how Company X and Y work. As you can see, collaboration can be organized to different degrees and at different scales. Both in terms of costs and advisory support, it can be wise to find partners. But it does not stop there. As Henry Ford once said, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. We see this reflected in several theories. To work well together, it is important to understand one another. How can we influence each other to perform and collaborate effectively? According to motivation theories, particularly those of Abraham Maslow and Frederick Herzberg, motivation is rooted in human needs. Maslow argued that our motivation stems from our human needs and that the different levels of needs must be met for us to be motivated to act. Maslow divided these levels as follows: Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Physiological needs. These are the most basic human needs: food, water, sleep, and shelter. In a work or collaboration context, this means ensuring that people have the fundamentals in place to function, for example fair pay, access to necessary resources, and a safe physical environment. Safety needs. Once physiological needs are met, people seek stability and predictability. This includes both physical safety and psychological safety, for example clear agreements, predictable frameworks, and an environment without fear of unfairness or uncertainty. Love and belonging, social needs. People have a strong need to feel included and to belong to a community. In collaboration and co-creation, this is about building trust, inclusion, and a shared identity in the team or local community. Esteem needs. People are motivated when they experience respect and receive recognition for their contribution. Responsibility, praise, and opportunities to be heard strengthen engagement and self-confidence. It is about feeling valued and that one's effort matters. Self-actualization. At the top of the hierarchy is the need to realize one's full potential, to learn, create, and develop. In co-creation processes, this happens when people can use their creativity, share ideas, and help shape something meaningful for their local community. Herzberg's research, consistent with Maslow's, also showed that motivation, job satisfaction, and productivity are linked to human needs. He is known for Herzberg's two-factor theory, which distinguishes between hygiene factors. These do not necessarily create motivation, but their absence often leads to dissatisfaction and poor morale. They concern the external conditions for work and collaboration, elements that must be in place for people to thrive. Examples include fair pay and benefits, safe and predictable working conditions, good relationships with colleagues and partners, clear leadership and communication, values and goals perceived as fair and realistic. Motivators, motivator factors. These relate to intrinsic motivation, what makes people want to contribute, develop, and take ownership of their work. They provide energy, meaning, and a sense of mastery. Examples include responsibility and trust, recognition for effort and results, opportunities to learn and develop, participation in decisions and co-creation, a sense of meaning and pride in the work. As we see from these theories, people are not primarily motivated by money but by responsibility, recognition, and ownership. This theory is important to understand if you are to succeed with collaboration in a small local community. It is a tool for understanding people, one that leaders across organizations have used and still use to help their staff perform at their best. Let us look at what Company X and Y did in the examples that enabled strong collaboration. For Company X, it is clear that the organization emphasizes responsibility, trust, and especially ownership, both in idea development and in goal setting, by including the actors in the process. They also facilitate communication between parties by having multiple touch points. The example is characterized by good relationships between parties and clear leadership with clear, effective communication. For Company Y, we see that they work more independently, yet collaborate at a detailed level, for example by sharing marketing costs to build a destination where tourism uses the offerings of the area. They also give responsibility and show trust by trading with and advising one another. Even though these two actors have different resource bases, we see that collaboration often pays off. With these examples and the theories mentioned, you can also find good and profitable solutions in your local environment that will create synergies between parties. Here are some concrete methods you can use to reap the benefits of collaboration. Take and give ownership of projects, delegate responsibility, and show trust in partners. Put solid routines in place through clear communication, a clear strategy, and defined goals. Listen to and learn from other actors in the area and region. Another strong reason to collaborate is when you carry out a product development process. When you start creating a product, it is important to consider what competencies exist within the business, and what are the market's needs. Based on these questions, we start with the idea stage, which we divide into ideation, idea generation, and concept testing. Ideation is about bringing forward new ideas. It can happen spontaneously or as the result of a process such as brainstorming or workshops with collaboration partners. Once you have an idea, it must be tested by presenting it to a small group of consumers. Here you will get quick, useful feedback on whether the idea is strong or weak. You want to avoid spending time and money on a poor idea, so this phase is important. After the idea stage, we address the financial analysis. Sales forecasts, cost estimates, and various profitability assessments must be considered to decide whether this is an idea to pursue. If confidence remains after the analysis, the product development phase begins. This is where the product moves from idea to reality and, through the process, must undergo functional testing, user testing, and production testing. Before a full launch, the product should be tried in test marketing, a limited market and period, to uncover any shortcomings that can be adjusted and improved before the final product is launched in full. We also see that there are advantages to collaboration in such a situation. However, in collaboration it is not always the case that everyone agrees. Therefore, it is also useful to learn how to resolve conflicts. What should you do if a conflict breaks out about, for example, the right choice to achieve the desired success? This is not an unusual situation. To resolve potential conflicts, we consider the Thomas-Gilman Conflict Mode Instrument, TKI, a well-known model in conflict management developed by Kenneth Thomas and Ralph Killman. It outlines 5 modes for handling conflict between differing positions. There is no single method that always works best, the choice depends on the conflict at hand. The 5 modes are: competing, high assertiveness, low cooperativeness. A direct, result-oriented approach in which one party prioritizes winning the conflict. This can be effective when a quick decision is required, but can harm relationships if overused. Avoiding, low assertiveness, low cooperativeness. The conflict is ignored or postponed. This strategy can be useful when emotions are high or the issue is minor, but often leads to unresolved tension and weakened trust over time. Accommodating, low assertiveness, high cooperativeness. One party places greater emphasis on preserving harmony than on pursuing their own needs. This can create goodwill in the short term, but excessive accommodation can lead to frustration and imbalance. Compromising, moderate assertiveness and cooperativeness. Both parties give up something to find a middle ground solution. This is often practical and time-saving, but can limit creative, long-term solutions. Collaborating, high assertiveness, high cooperativeness. The most constructive mode, where both parties work together to find a win-win solution. It requires openness, trust, and good communication, the same qualities that underpin co-creation and community empowerment. The drawback is that it is often more time-consuming. For example, if Company X faced disagreement about how tasks should be handled going forward, the foundation of openness, trust, and clear communication would create the conditions for a likely win-win solution. Here we see how the theories reinforce each other and, in many ways, can create a competitive advantage for the collaboration. Both motivation theory and conflict management are important themes within collaboration. To conclude briefly, the examples from Company X and Company Y show that different actors can succeed by sharing resources, using each other's products, and having clear touchpoints and shared frameworks. You have also gained insight into how to develop a product from start to finish, and the role collaboration can play in such a process. With Maslow's and Herzberg's need and motivation theories, you have seen how basic needs, safety, recognition, and responsibility create motivation and ownership in collaboration. With the Thomas-Gilman model, you now have a tool for choosing the best approach when disagreement arises, and for using the model to improve the situations you face and potentially create competitive advantage. You can therefore point to concrete involvement measures, take and give ownership, delegate responsibility, communicate clearly, listen, and learn across stakeholders. In this way, you can explain what community co-creation is and why it delivers more robust, sustainable experiences. Good luck!